All right, welcome to the brand new podcast, What the Work. I'm your host, Ryan Hankis, and for our very first pilot episode, we happen to have a pilot with us, none other than my brother, Kyle Hankis. So welcome, Kyle. How you doing?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
good.
You know, just came in from Utah, huh?
Yeah, just in fact, actually, I just landed at John Wayne Airport with my job.
There you go.
Came up to my brother's place, and here I am.
Well, first things first, new traditions. You thirsty for a beer?
Yeah, I'll take a beer. Why not?
What do you want?
Let's see here. What you guys got? Yeah, I'll take a Kona. All right, thanks, bud.
Doing it right. Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
All right.
Thanks, man.
So you're a pilot, huh? For Jet Suite X?
I am a pilot for Jet Suite.
Okay.
Jet
What is the difference? Because I always hear
So,
both of them.
And you'll pretty much only see the advertisements for Jet Suite X. They are kind of our sister company. They actually have a separate certificate, actually, than what we do. And the company Jet Suite, they started off by developing Jet Suite, which is their private charter. And then I guess once they did pretty well, they kind of split off and started a second company, which is basically a chartered airline. A little bit different than private service, like on a private jet. The other one does scheduled charter service, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay.
So,
how did you get into that?
you know what? I fell in love with flying when I was really young.
Yeah. Let's start from the beginning, man.
yeah.
You got your pilot's license.
Yeah.
At how old?
I flew in a little airplane in Oshkosh when I was young, when I was 12, and I fell in love with it. And I said, I need to do this. I need to do this for the rest of my life. And so I made it my career. But in doing so, obviously you need to be a certain age to solo.
Yeah.
You need to be a certain age to have your license. But you
Goes
don't
for
need,
driving.
Yeah. But you don't need to be a certain age to start flying. You could be 12 years old, 13 years old, 14. I started when I was 15, and then I soloed my first airplane when I was 16 and got my license when I was 17. So I met those two legal requirements.
There you go. All right. Cool. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So Oshkosh, then you got your private pilot's license, and
Yeah.
you had this love for it. You just kept going with it, or what was next then after that?
Yeah,
So,
once I got my private pilot's license and I started,
how old were you when that happened?
I was 17. Yeah,
Cool.
because you have to be 17 to get your license. So I was
So-
17.
That was young, right? I mean, most people don't do it that young, right?
It was middle of high school. Middle of
Wow.
high school.
Wow.
So,
Wait, did you get your driver's license before your pilot's license?
you know what? No, I got my driver's license before I got my pilot's license.
that would be
But
great.
they were only like 6 months apart, which is funny. But in fact, I remember not even being able to rent a golf cart on Catalina Island because you had to be 21. And yet here I am flying an airplane and I'm 17 years old. It didn't make sense. But golf cart versus airplane, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So once I got my license, I started flying around my friends, family, just having fun with it, utilizing my privileges of my airman certificate.
Yeah, I remember going with you a few times.
Yeah. Like
Zero gravity.
Yeah, had some crazy times out there. Had a blast, and then I started realizing, well, I've gained so many hours just having fun, and with just my private pilot's license, that I'm kind of a little bit ahead of the game for my age, and it kind of puts me a little bit ahead of most people. In fact, pretty much everybody, I guess, at the age of 18 or 19.
Yeah, of course.
Who hasn't even ever started flying or discovered flying yet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you graduate high school. I just want to go, through all the basics. How
Yeah.
did you get to where you're at? You
So-
started flying right away. You went
Yeah.
to college.
So then what I
do you get
realized,
do you get a degree in just flying?
yeah, so actually, no, that's a good point. That's actually a really good point. I definitely want to feed off that one a little bit too.
Yeah.
Once I carry on with my story.
We're in no rush, man.
Yeah, so obviously, like if you want to do it as a career, you need a degree. As
Okay.
pretty much for every job out there that you want to make,
True. You just need the piece of paper.
you need the certificate. You need to walk away saying, "Hey, I passed 4 years of doing this."
Yeah.
So I looked at schools. Didn't want to stay necessarily in Southern California. It was just too expensive. Also, kind of wanted to maybe experience something else. So I looked at 4 different colleges. I guess. Do you want me to go through all 4 of them?
It's up to you if you want to go through 'em.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how did you narrow? Okay, how did you narrow down
Yeah,
to
so,
4 colleges? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so like I knew that I was into aviation so much, and it really like captured my life that I knew that I wanted to go to school for aviation. So then I looked at aviation schools and colleges, and actually a really good resource for that is
Excuse me.
AOPA, Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, an association that I belong to, put out an article in their magazine every year of basically all the collegiate programs that are offered by colleges, universities, so on and so forth, state colleges, and what degrees they had. And so I kind of looked at that list and I narrowed it down to 4, and that being University of Crookston in Minnesota, Western Michigan University, Westminster College in Salt Lake City, and the last one was UND Aerospace in North Dakota.
So wait, go back. So what are you looking for? Like certain degree you graduate with, or is it just the
Okay, yeah.
school?
So I guess that's true because so what it is in this magazine by AOPA, they basically narrow it down in terms of what types of aviation degrees.
NOPA, what's that?
Or no, AOPA.
What's that?
Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. Yeah, so it's every pilot's a part of it.
Yeah,
you know?
well, not everyone's a pilot.
I guess that's true. Yeah. If you're gonna want to be a pilot, you're gonna want to be a part of this association.
Okay.
So
Well, this is good. This is when people know that maybe this is what they want to do. So
yeah, that's kind of how
good
I.
place to get started, right?
It's a great place to get started. It's how I found out about what colleges were out there, what degrees they offered. For instance, it narrows it down in kind of a list of, okay, this college has a degree in aviation flight management, an actual flight program or flight operations, business in aviation. There's so many degrees in aviation that you could have, but I narrowed mine down to 1, which is aviation flight operations.
So now, are all of them flying though?
That's the thing; they're not all flying. So it lists the colleges in there that provide, I'll say, aviation-oriented degrees. And basically what I saw in those is which ones do I want to pursue that actually has the aviation flight operations degree, which is the flying degree. That's where you go through and you do the flying. It's not like a business degree. It's not a management degree. You're not doing other things with aviation. That's the flying degree. So that's where you kind of work your way up and get your licenses, your ratings, your certificates as you excel through college.
All right, interesting. Okay. So you picked one, you went to it, and you started. 4
I-
years later, you graduate. I mean, you get other licenses at college. Like,
Yeah, so it put me already ahead of the game.
What put you ahead of the game?
Having my private pilot's license before even entering college.
So is there a lot of, we'll say, students that go in, want to be a pilot and not even have that?
I would say 90 to 95% of all the students of when you get into college don't have their license yet.
Oh, so
they're
you're-
just starting this out. They're just discovering this aviation
You were way
career.
ahead.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say way ahead, but I was ahead. So I almost basically skipped a year, if you want to call it that, in the aviation. I mean, I still went through all 4 years because I got to take my basics.
took time
Yeah,
to
the GEs. You got to get them all.
Party
over.
and have fun. Right?
Yeah, yeah, I did a little too much of that. As much as you could in Salt Lake City, right? And anyway, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But anyway, I
he's
still
not.
live there now. I love that place. Anyway, and so, I guess I was a little bit ahead of the game by having my private pilot's license. So basically, I skipped a year in the aviation department because I didn't have to go through private pilot ground school, the basics of flying. I didn't have to get up to speed. I was already up to speed. So basically, when I went into college, I was in the sophomore class of the students that were taking the aviation program.
So you initially did kind of. So I'm guessing that first year is basically getting everyone their pilots.
Yeah, everybody's working on their privates. Their
privates.
That's
Whoa.
I guess what we
Those
call it that.
aviation we're talking about.
Yeah. But no,
Middle school right there.
like kind of how it worked was first year was your private pilot certificate. Takes a while. Second year is your instrument. You start working on what's called your commercial And your commercial license is where you can finally get paid to fly. And then after that, you can go a few different routes. You can go get your multi-engine license, which is what you're going to need. So pretty much everybody goes that route. So you get your multi-engine license, which is very short. It takes you a couple of months to get. And then you could start working on your flight instructor certificate. So that's usually how it goes. It goes private pilot's license, instrument rating, commercial license, multi-engine certificate, and then your flight instructor certificate. So
You're good.
5.
You just go fly.
You
fly
just
people around.
go fly.
You
Yeah,
just
you
go
don't even
fly.
fly people. You fly yourself and your instructor.
There you
And it's a lot of training. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of tests. It is a very
I remember. I know.
it's a daunting task. Yeah, it's like to get all that in 4 years is actually difficult. Some people it takes more than that, but you got to work your butt off, especially where I went to, because I chose Westminster College in Salt Lake City, which has winters, so you can't fly for December, January, and February because, well, you're not going to fly a small single-engine airplane through icing conditions.
Why not?
Yeah,
Good practice.
not quite. But
How
anyway,
do people in Alaska fly?
yeah. So like, yeah, but so I don't know. I didn't fly basically year round, or nobody did, and so you really have to play catch up then when the sun comes back out, and you gotta catch up. It's a lot to do. Not only that is you're doing all the flying on top of your general education classes. So you're doing, you're taking physics, you're taking calculus, you're taking.
Calculus. You still have to do math and stuff?
That was the only class I failed. So
Yeah. You still have to do math, though, huh?
big ol' F on that one. Cheated my way and got a B on it. So.
No, he didn't.
So, but anyway, so yeah, this is kind of the normal route that you go if you want to do the flight operations program and go get your 40
Let me ask you
degree.
this. Okay, so it's a lot about college and stuff. Can you just go out and be a pilot without doing the degree part?
Yes. So one thing that I almost wish that I did, if I could go back and say, man, I wish I could have done things differently.
Yeah.
And I would tell anybody this who wants to actually pursue an aviation career, is I would tell them to fly on the side, maybe even buy an airplane, a used one, and go get all your hours in it. Because then when you sell it, you can get your money back. It's not like you're paying for all this flight
Well,
training.
how much does a little, we'll say Cessna, I guess, cost?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know
you're
how to use
just
Cessna as a
yeah,
Boeing.
yeah. We can use a Cessna or a Piper Archer or something like that.
no idea what those
Yeah.
are, but-
Anyway, they're little small single-engine airplanes. They usually run like anywhere between 120 to 140 bucks an hour.
But
And
you said buy one.
well, yeah, because if I told somebody differently than the route that I would have done is spend the extra, I don't know, $50,000-$60,000, buy an airplane.
Is that how much it? That's what I'm asking. How much does?
Yeah,
a plane
yeah, you could
cost?
buy. Yeah, you could buy a good used airplane for $50,000 or $60,000. Buy it.
That's interesting. I thought it'd be like, I don't know.
Go do all your flying in that one airplane, and after the 3 or 4 years, because the only cost that you'll have is fuel and flight instructor,
Okay.
which is nowhere near the cost of what it was that pretty much 99% of us spend going through the college curriculum, of the aviation degree. And what I would have said is go get your degree maybe in something else. Go get your degree in business. Go get your degree in maybe something that will educate you more along the lines, or spread out your
Underwater basket weaving.
yeah. Go get your degree in something else, because if flying ever failed, you have something to rely on. Because
Well, why would flying fail?
car accident, you lose a leg, you lose an arm.
Well, I mean, that's with most jobs, though, too.
You have a stroke, you have heart problems. That's true. But with aviation, that's all you spent your whole life in is getting your degree in aviation in flying, and that failed. What else? What else is there?
Well, I
So
mean,
that's
yeah. But if you're a construction worker, bust a leg in a car accident, can't lift things anymore.
yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing, I mean, it's a.
But I think
It goes for everyone.
that's true. I think flying is just a little bit more categorized.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you think the degree was necessary?
The degree is 100% necessary, but it's not necessary in aviation, because all the major airlines, this is what I want to get at, actually.
All right,
This
all right.
is the important point that I said I'd come back on later.
All right. Well,
is
we haven't even gotten to your jobs yet.
yeah,
So we got a ways
yeah.
to go. So.
Well, yeah, we'll get into my job here in just a little bit. But if I could ever recommend a different route for somebody to choose, had I done it all over again, I would say go get your degree in business, whatever it is that tickles your fancy outside the aviation world, because it's something else to fall back on in case it failed. And number two is that only thing that, like, all aviation, for instance, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, even the corporate gig that I currently fly at, the only thing they require is a degree. Nowhere does it say in the fine print that it has to be in aviation. I mean, maybe it looks a little better, but the thing is, in reality, all they care is that you got that 4-year degree. That's all that matters. And so if I would tell somebody to do it over again, go get your degree in business. I choose business ethics.
Business ethics.
And then go fly on the side. Go fly on the side. Whether you need to rent an airplane or buy an airplane, like what I was telling you about, and then get all your experience in that airplane that you bought and sell it. 4 years later, that airplane, it's not going to be that much less for what you bought it for, especially if you only put like 500 hours on the airplane.
I don't know. Are the resale of airplanes good?
Yeah, resale value of airplanes is really good. As long as they just, if you just keep up with them and they're in good shape, basically the same way as you bought it, you could sell it for, I don't know, you'd maybe lose
All right.
$5,000 on it.
All right. So you graduate, you go into your first job, which is...
So out of college, I ended with my flight instructor certificate, kind of like what I was telling you about the 5 different ones.
Yeah.
And now that I have my flight instructor certificate, I can get paid to fly and be a flight instructor.
So a few years ago, you were there as a student, and now you go to college, you get all your hours in,
Yes.
you come back, and now you're instructing.
And now I'm the instructor.
And you're an instructor at what, 22?
Yeah, 21.
So I'm guessing everyone was older than you.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of people just say, like, hey, I don't want to fly with this guy because he seems too
Like a
young.
little kid.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
seems too young, and the dude's like 55 years old. So
I don't be honest, if I was 55, I'd probably be the same way.
yeah, but anything, you gain experience, a few times, and you get it, just like anything. Just like anything. So, but problem with flight instructors is, I'm not gonna lie, you get paid like shit.
Really?
Don't mean to say it. It's a very, what's that called? When you work really hard and you
underpaid?
don't. Yeah, it's such an underpaid position.
Okay. We had a few close calls during it, right?
Yeah, I've had a few close calls.
Go ahead. Like, what, you almost crashed?
Yeah, I've had 2 engine failures.
Okay.
In a single engine airplane, so obviously there's no more engines to fly. So put 2 and 2 together.
So wait, what happened with that one? You're instructing a student, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was instructing a student. The engine failed.
How?
It was a catastrophic failure. FAA investigated it,
Which means was it a ranking system? What is catastrophic?
Yeah, so
mean?
catastrophic means basically it's outside my control. It is something that the engine produced that I couldn't. That's outside my control. It's catastrophic. It's
Like you're just shooting guns outside and just shot a wing and it went down or something.
No. It was anyway. Catastrophic engine failure. The cause was due to the engine. Catastrophic meaning that happened right away and it was a full failure. Landed on a highway. And yeah, landed on the 241 toll road.
Oh,
You can look it
toll
up down in Orange County, California.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so landed there, and well, I guess the rest is history. So
What?
walked away without a scratch on the airplane, landed
So
successfully.
you just glided in, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just glided it
Your
in.
student landed it.
I mean, we had, like, you always think, and whoever I could tell in the aviation world this, is that if you're flying a single engine airplane, you're always looking around, no matter where you are, thinking, if my engine quit, where would I go now? And we had already picked it out. It's like, if my engine quit, where would I go now? And I remember my student pointing, be like, I'd go there. And I'd be like, that's a good idea. And then bam.
So you're like,
Well, we went there.
you're like, all right, man, student, you're gonna land it, right? Did you have him land it? What
I
happened?
said my flight controls, and he gave me the flight controls, and
right.
took it on down and went through that whole process. So, but anyway, had that underneath my belt.
It's a good interview question, I guess.
Yeah. So because there was no damage to person, property, the aircraft, or persons, either on the ground or aboard the aircraft. The FAA examined it. They took a look at it, and they basically just put it in my record file and closed it up after they got the report, especially from the engine manufacturer, Bombardier Rotax. I'm not a fan of you, sorry to say. That U12 ULS, not a fan.
All right.
Yeah, anyway. But I'm just saying, the results came back from Bombardier Rotax, and they concluded that one of the intake and exhaust valve pins that are on each side of the cylinder, one of them had snapped off, rattled around in the piston head, in the cylinder, into the piston head, causing the immediate and catastrophic failure. So,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Well, you got lucky. I mean, you hear so many stories. Was it less than a year ago? The one guy on the 405 here just crash landed. You know what? I was actually
in a twin engine airplane.
in a twin. He had an extra engine too.
Yeah, extra.
And then I was out in the desert not too long ago, man, and middle of the desert in between Indio and Blythe, nothing there, and we're out there. There is a random little grave site because two engineers were doing like the surveillance. It was a few years ago actually, of like the area. I guess they're building solar panels out there and stuff. And they just weird like dust storm or something. I forget the story's on the internet, but went down middle desert, crashed, died.
Wow.
Just from like a dust storm kind of thing. So I mean, hey, good for you to be able to land it, live to tell the tale. And you said wait, there's a second one too?
It was a second one. It was a partial failure, like 50% power loss. Something happened with it was a dual carburetor system. Something happened with my other carburetor. It wasn't in sync with the engine, and turned back around and landed. We were only at like 500 feet. So.
How much do you do like the mechanic work on aircraft? Do you know a bunch of that too?
I mean,
like, would you be able to tweak the engine or anything, or not
No,
really?
like that's not stuff that really we do.
I mean, you're talking
stuff
a lot
we
of
check.
car parts and stuff.
You learn about it. Like you learn a whole lot about the engine, how it works, no matter what airplane you're flying. Whether it's a Cessna 172 or the turbine that I'm flying right now in the jet, you learn about it. You understand how it works, the components that are related to it, and but do you check it? I mean, the only thing that you really check is pretty much the oil. Oil's good? Okay, cool. Let's go fly.
All right.
Yeah. So, and obviously the maintenance, the required maintenance that's done on the engine as well. So usually check that before the flight.
All right. So back to work. You're a
So,
flight
yeah,
instructor.
flight instructor.
You're obviously not doing that anymore. So then what? You send application out. You go on LinkedIn. You put yourself on Indeed. What goes on?
The hardest part is that you are a single engine pilot and you have to now step your way into the multi-engine world. That is the most difficult, most daunting task of any pilot because
Why can't you just stay single engine?
you need experience. Look at every single career that's out there. None of them have single engine. They're all dual engine. Corporate world, airline world, everything that's out there has two engines. And so in order to make that step from being a single engine pilot to a multi-engine pilot is usually the most difficult step, from my personal opinion. Some people got in real easy because usually the multi-engine job, guess what they require? Some multi-engine time. What do you have? Not that.
So when you say you have hours in, they separate it from multi-engine and single engine?
Yes,
Like, there's a
correct. Yeah.
difference?
In your total time, it's all the same because that's your total amount of flight time, but you actually have separate multi-engine hours and single engine hours. I mean, you have a few from when you got your multi-engine license, but I mean, you don't have more than 10 hours, which really isn't that much experience at all to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So moving on to that next step is a task. I was fortunate enough to be in Southern California, where it is just it's an aviation Goliath. I mean, Jesus, how many airports are down there in Southern California? They're everywhere. There's so many job opportunities. It's ridiculous. It's not like I'm, out in bum nowhere, Kansas. You know what I mean? You're looking for a multi-engine job.
No offense to Kansas.
Yeah, no offense to them, but your nearest airport could be like 150 miles away. But so I was lucky to actually be able to start looking down there, and found a job.
How? Internet? What?
So the thing with aviation is that there's a lot of networking.
Okay.
Don't make enemies with anybody. I mean, it's pretty hard to, but I'm saying just
Maybe you're just calling out that guy.
yeah, just that's funny. Touche.
Okay.
But no, I'm
Let
just
that
saying,
one
like,
go.
yeah. Sorry, Bombardier. Anyway, you don't make with the connections that you make, stay with those connections because that's how I got into the multi-engine world. Was I knew somebody who's a friend of mine, and he talked to his boss, got me an interview, and went in, took the interview, passed, and the next thing I knew, I was flying Beechcraft King Air A90s. So
What is that? Just describe it to a person who knows.
yeah, it's going
nothing.
from a single engine piston to a twin engine turbine powered
So
aircraft.
twin engine meaning one on each wing.
Yeah, so two engines.
Okay.
So multi-engine airplane, same thing.
Yeah.
And it being a turbine, which is a big deal because a
not
turbine,
propeller, right?
Well, it's not a piston. There's multi-engine airplanes that are piston, but this is a turbine, which is actually a jet engine, except it has a propeller on the front, instead of a turbofan, like you see in like most jets. So like
Yeah, I'm
the
thinking.
jet.
So like,
yeah.
okay, compared to like a
So the
airliner that everyone knows, like your normal.
So exact same thing. So it's an airline engine, except with a big fan in the front with all those hundreds of blades. It's a propeller. That's it. That's the only difference.
Why do they do that?
One is made for high speed flight that's at high altitude.
Which is the
So like
passenger
like a
carrying-
fan blade can compress air a lot more, and so that it can go for higher up at faster speeds. And what they do is they use that same jet engine, but they put a prop on the front. It's made for lower altitudes, usually lower speed flight.
Okay. So it has a lot of almost
Yeah, it's-
physics to it. and
yeah,
stuff,
it's a
and
lot of
deal with
physics to
air
it.
and wind and everything.
Yeah. Just kind of, it has to do with the task at which is supplied. Not all airplanes are meant to go fly people around, going from New York to Denver, Other airplanes have certain jobs, like the one that I just got, which was the Flying King Airs and dropping Mediterranean fruit flies for the, that was for the, basically the food department of California, the USDA.
So for the food, you're dropping
man.
flies.
Yeah, so for the
Are you?
it's just funny to get into.
infesting
That's all.
What are you doing dropping flies for?
So basically, it's part of the Mediterranean Fruit Fly Eradication Project, brought to you by the CDFA, the California Department of Food and Agriculture. And what we do is we drop basically lab bugs. They were all made into a lab, and they're all males, and they are all sterilized. Meaning they got blasted with radon and they shoot blanks. So they go and try to impregnate the females. Female thinks she's pregnant. She dies off. What this is for is these fruit flies come in from, I hate to say it, but from Mexico.
That's
It's
where
just
they
there's a
come.
lot of crops down there. Yeah.
Well, no, they
And-
come up to what? The Central Valley.
Well,
in
that's the thing.
California is what they
Exactly.
wanna do,
So,
right?
yeah, and the
So you're
bug.
stopping them on the way, being in Southern
Exactly.
California.
We're stopping along the way being in Southern California because the bug's not going to travel through the desert. They're going to go where all the people are, where all the groves
coast.
are. Yeah, so they take the coastal route because we're trying to protect it from the San Joaquin Valley, which is one of the greatest, agricultural resources the United States has.
So this is I
It's a
guess
science project.
Well, yeah, let's go. This is your job. You're literally dropping flies to just so they don't affect the crops up north a little bit more.
That's it. It's all crop protection for the San Joaquin Valley. And we drop it all throughout Southern California where all the people are because, the bugs, they can't live through the desert. And on the other side of the mountains in Southern California is all desert. So they go through the population. And so we fly at really low altitudes, dropping hundreds of millions of bugs per day. And they help eradicate
little sterile bugs,
little
huh?
sterilized
flies.
little sterilized flies. And that was my job.
Wow.
That was my job.
All right.
So
what, you didn't want to stick with that? I mean, obviously you obviously left that. You're with Jet Suite now.
Yeah,
So what
and
happened?
it
It's
was
a good second job.
yeah. So the company that I work for was Dynamic Aviation. What they did is they did multiple what do you call it? They do a whole lot of interesting job. I don't even know if interesting is the right word for it. Basically, what Dynamic Aviation does is they take an airplane, for instance, the King Air, which was their number one airplane, and they make it and build it to fit a certain task. That task being the one in Southern California was dropping Mediterranean fruit flies. They had I think it was called OSR, which is basically oil surveillance. And so if there's any oil out in the ocean, they could go and recon that and then also drop a chemical in the water.
Were these military planes before?
Yeah, they were ex-military airplanes that served actually back in Vietnam.
The old ones.
Yeah, old ones. Old airplanes. And they basically retrofitted them, built them up, and made them capable for any job out there. They do mosquito repellent. They do OSR. They do stuff in the Middle East regarding surveillance, including dropping Mediterranean fruit flies, which was the project that I was on down in Southern California. So, but pay wasn't great. But the biggest thing is I was building experience.
Those hours in, right?
Yeah,
you couldn't
get
those
the hours
hours
in.
in from
That's
the flight instructor.
All
right?
that it's about.
That's
That
all
is
about flight
that's
hours,
yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Okay.
It's all about flight hours because Southwest Airlines isn't going to hire a guy that has less than 1,500 to 2,000, probably 3,000 hours. They need that flight time.
How long? Okay, real quick. About how long would it take just flying average job to get to 3,000 hours? I mean, I don't even know how much that. I guess I could do a calculator.
I would say it went a pretty normal route. Because you're building time from when you start your private pilot's license all the way until you become a flight instructor to when you have a multi-engine job to your next position.
So how long are we talking? For 3,000 hours, let's say.
For 3,000 hours, I would honestly say about 7 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. It's a long time to be flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 7 years. And that's flying,
It's like getting
if you want to call it religiously.
doctorate degree in.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a.
It's a lot of
So
time.
it's all
up in
about
the air.
hours, though, huh?
It's all about hours. It's
So
all
that's
about
stuff
hours.
like how does that? Okay, let me ask you this: how does that keep track of? How do you keep track of? Do you just have like a notebook you take with you? And
Yeah, you got a logbook.
but does it get entered into some website that keeps track of you? So
literally,
it follows
you have a paper logbook that you just don't lie about. That's it.
Really? So they really just take your word for it?
Hey, take your word for it.
I mean, could you lie on it?
Could you? Yes. If they found out about this, then obviously you'd lose your job.
Okay. That easy, huh?
Yeah, that easy. Which is kind
no
of
second chances. Just
yeah. We always talk about that as pilots. It's just like, you know what? That's kind of interesting how nothing is regulated in terms of the logbook world. So
really, so it really is just based on trust and.
It's based on trust and you actually doing what you said that you did, and you got to obviously prove yourself for it. But yeah, I mean, not a single one of my hours is ever forged, and I don't think any of my friends or anybody that I fly with, I don't think anybody has ever forged any hours. It's like a unwritten law, I guess, that everybody sticks to. So, yeah.
All right, so you're done dropping bugs. You start applying. You're there for what, a year, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, done dropping bugs. I was there for
Poor sterile flies.
yeah. I was there for about 2 years dropping bugs. I was fortunate enough with that job. We flew more than almost any other flying job out there. Any of those that are listening that are pilots, we flew 12 to 1,300 hours a year, which is insane by any standard. That is
even for airlines.
Yes. Give you an idea for what I do now, flying this, the corporate gig for Jet Suite. I probably on average do, 650 hours a year.
Doubling.
Yeah,
that,
and I'm basically doubling that. And I mean, I only had one day off a week. I mean, we would fly anywhere between 5 to 8 hours in a day. So I'd work 6 days a week, fly 5 to 8 hours per day.
Wow.
So that's
a lot of time in the air. That's a lot of flies.
It's a lot. It's a lot of bugs. But it's worth it because I gave up so much of my life to basically get all that flight experience. Yeah. Could you mind sending me one too?
You got another one?
Yeah, I'll have another one.
You want this one?
Yeah, that'd be great, dude. Thanks, man.
Blondale?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Cool.
what I'd recommend to any pilot is, or anybody that wants to pursue an aviation career, find the job when you're young. Don't get a girlfriend and fly the crap out of that job. Like, just keep flying. Find a position that gets you more hours. And if it doesn't give you enough hours, find another job on the side to get you more and more hours, because that's what you want. You will never regret putting a year and a half to 2 years of your life to get all the experience that you'll ever need for years to come.
So, while flying bugs maybe wasn't the ideal job, but you do appreciate all the hours you got.
Yes,
from it, huh?
exactly.
That's good. Oh, cool,
So,
man. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
then
So
you got to a certain point. You're ready for the next step, and
the next step was, and
well,
this.
let me ask you, what's the end goal? Like, is there a career job you're
Yeah.
still looking for? Like, you want to do? Like, is it some just big airline company you want to go for, or is it
Yeah.
like?
What's interesting about that is that when I first started flying, when I first fell in, like, and I still am in love with it, but when I first started flying when I was younger and fell in love with it, I never knew actually what the pilot life was going to be like. I just was like, I love flying and I'm going to make this my life. And the thing that I want anybody to take away from this right now, and I'm talking really serious about this, is that if they want to pursue their career in aviation, it's gonna be glorious up front, because guess what? You're home every single night. And now I'm not. And I guess I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to be.
What's your average schedule like? What?
So,
6 days on, 7 days off.
Yeah,
like...
so my rotation that I have right now, and I'll get into like actually this next career in terms of what I had. We're starting to get there, but
working our way up.
Yeah, we're working our way up. And the schedule that I currently have is 7 days on, 7 days off. So I leave the house and I'm gone for 7 days straight, and I come back and I'm home for 7 days straight.
So it's kind of hard to own a dog or something.
Yeah, if you're a single person, you cannot own a dog, unfortunately. Owning a girlfriend is somewhat difficult too.
I understand.
It is very difficult. So
you gotta feed the girlfriend.
and I wish like somebody like a captain of an airline once came up to my shoulder when I was 17, 18 years old and said, "You know what? A lot of your life is going to be on the road. Are you willing to put in that time?"
Yeah.
Because that is the most difficult part about my job. That is the only thing that I regret, because sometimes, and I know 9 to 5, Monday through Friday sounds shitty, but sometimes I almost wish that I had that, just because I enjoy being home.
Yeah.
I enjoy being home.
Well,
I
yeah,
love where I live. I love the relationship that I'm in. I love so much stuff about being home, and I got to be gone for a week.
Yeah, it's the pilot's life.
It's the pilot's life, and nobody told me that.
Well, I mean, we kind of, I guess, just as we'll call ourselves outsiders. You think of like the pilots and the flight attendants and stuff. Like,
yeah, think about the flight attendants.
And when there's a flight from LAX to Paris, it's not like they're coming right to Paris back to LAX. We know that they're gone for a few days.
And you know what's interesting? I'll whisper this one is. Or into the microphone, you guys got to work holidays too. So forget Christmas, forget Thanksgiving, forget New Year's.
Yeah.
You got a birthday? Well, that sucks. Literally, everybody needs to fly, and it's not based off your schedule, because people need to fly. It is a career that is never ending.
Yeah.
So
there's no days off.
Just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. I love my job. I don't think I'd ever give it up. Just again, another little side note, the reason why, I guess, as a whole, on why I pursued this career is because I didn't want a desk job. It's literally what it comes down to. I didn't want to sit in an office on a computer, just, no offense for those out there, but, tootling away at either like a windowless or maybe a one window office, with somebody nagging me about, I don't know, about anything. No. And
there are totally different, you're right. I get you. I agree with you. But there are some people that want that. And some people, you're right, who can't stand it either.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's hard to put me into a square room and not look out the window and say, do your work for 8 hours a day.
It's hard.
It's really difficult, because I do enjoy my job every single day. Like the view outside at 30,000 feet, 37,000 feet.
Yeah, you have some pretty good
Yeah, it's
Instagram
just
I like the cloud ones when you're going by.
Oh,
real
yeah,
quick.
yeah,
Those
the
ones are
time
always,
lapse.
really cool
Yeah.
actually and stuff. So,
but anyway, so I know we left off a little bit earlier.
yeah, back. So
Yeah,
okay,
well, so
you're done with the Flut Blugs. You're now at Jet Suite.
Yeah, so now I am at Jet Suite. Their office used to be located at John Wayne Airport in Southern California.
Convenient because you're
Very
from here.
convenient because that's where I lived. And I literally walked in, talked to the people, handed in my resume, and it got me a interview, passed the interview, and the next thing that I knew, I was flying jets. So little jets, but I was flying jets, and that's the big thing because all I have to do is check that box off in my logbook. Doesn't matter if it's a 737 or it doesn't
It's
matter
flight
if it's
hours, right?
It's flight
You can get
hours,
flight
and I'm
hours.
getting jet time.
There you
so
go.
that's the biggest thing. I'm
So
getting jet time.
now Jet Suite, just because I'm not like too familiar with it, I know it's the more expensive, luxurious route. But like, what
Well-
is it? Jet Suite does exactly. That's let's say I'm going Kansas. We'll say, why would I want to take Jet Suite over a commercial airline?
Well, it's the luxurious method. If you don't want to deal with any hustle and bustle of the airport, if you don't want to wait in
TSA.
lines, if you want to bring on whatever you want, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, anything you want to bring on the airplane, you can. We're not required to check bags. We just say okay. Obviously, when people bring guns on board, there's certain restrictions and stuff. We gotta.
Well, I hope they're.
Well, at least we take a lot of hunters, so they can.
I didn't even think of it in that sense.
Yeah, we take a whole lot of hunters.
I just want to be taken.
I took one guy last week. He had his dead pheasants in the back. And stuck up the whole airplane. He had him and his 5 shotguns. So you can take whatever you want and without having to worry. Not only that, too, it's at your convenience. It's not like you have to wait for an airline. Oh, this departs at so-and-so time. It's, I want this depart at this time. Okay, we can make that happen.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so it's on...
And it's just, 4 people max usually?
Yeah, and you know what the nice part is? You can drive your car up to the airplane, walk up from your car, your whatever you drive, get on the airplane. We're going in less than 5 minutes. And then when you get off the airplane, if you got another car reserved or a rental car, you walk off the airplane on the red carpet and you're back in your next
So let's say
vehicle.
from parking car to takeoff can be as little as like
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah. Oh, less than that. Yeah,
Ooh.
we've done that for... I mean, as soon as they walk on the airplane, we shut the door, get the engines rolling. Yeah, we'll be take off.
So
Most airports less than a couple minutes. So.
You get a lot of high profile people because it's a little more expensive than a normal ticket, right?
We do. That is one thing that I will keep confidential in terms of who we fly.
All right, fair enough.
Can't say that, but we do fly.
Well, I mean, just the way you're describing it, it is the more luxurious way, and you have to be able to have a little extra moolah to pay for this. So.
Exactly.
So it's more the people that we we'll just
yeah.
say like
That can afford it.
are there actors and athletes and famous people you've flown?
All across the board.
Okay.
Business personnel, a lot of business companies, they want to have a chartered airplane to send their employees up and down Southern California, across to Vegas, and we're that. And so, anybody across the board.
That's cool. All right.
The way we kind of word it is anybody that can afford it.
There
So
you go.
usually it's a lot of companies, business owners,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, athletes, celebrities. You kind of see it all. You see it all. So
Do you guys have a flight attendant, or you?
no, we are the flight attendants.
Oh,
yeah,
You just
yeah.
put on autopilot.
Well,
and then,
yeah.
All right. What kind of martini I'm making tonight?
Yeah, and it's actually really funny because we do make them their drinks while they're, and then I go up and fly the plane. So it's like, oh, I spilled a little. Look, my hands smell like vodka. Well, okay, I'm flying today. So, no, obviously, but that's more of a joke than anything. But that's actually how it is. We fix them their drinks, welcome them aboard, and if they need anything, they'll let us know. Give them the little safety brief, and up away we go. So
Cool. Do you guys move faster than a normal plane too?
So which is actually kind of funny about that. We don't. Our jet is so small that it actually moves slower than
That makes sense.
any airline service or most larger body jets, just because it's a small jet. It's only 5-seater. But I don't know, most of our clients, most of our customers, they don't even notice a difference. It's not that much slower. And it's kind of nice because they can drink whatever they want. It's an open bar and it's an open snack bar. You can, there's a restroom in the back. Use it at your leisure. It's They bought the airplane.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want. You want to go see that house over to the left? You want us to make like a little circle because that's your house? Well, we can do that. You know,
Take
you
a
can't.
picture, little
Yeah,
Snapchat.
we did that. We did that for actually this one guy's solar farm up in central Utah. He's like, guys, I want you to fly over. We want to get some overhead pictures. So we asked, we deviated and circled, took photos of his
Area, we'll say.
his area, and then continued on. And it's like you can't do that with any other.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Come tapping the pilot on like American Airlines, like, hey, can you make this
Make a left turn on my house
place over here to the left? You mind just banking one of those? Like, take a good picture.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
So
cool.
it definitely is stepping into the professional pilot world once you kind of start doing that, obviously. And a lot of people, some of the guys, make this their final move. A lot of the people that are at Jet Suite want to stay there forever. Like, that is their final career move.
I mean, you don't have to answer this, but do you like it there?
I love it there.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
All right,
I love
cool.
it there. I love it there.
Cool.
Like, obviously it has to, you kind of choose your schedule depending upon your seniority, but it doesn't take long
That's
to
any
get your,
job.
yeah, that's any job. Exactly. Kind of put in your dues and you get what you'd like just over time. For me, the only thing I think that would be, I guess, a little bit different is that since I'm younger, right now I'm 28, and turning 29 in a few months, and because I have just my whole career still ahead of me, I don't think this is my final stop. I think I have one more stop to go.
Okay.
And
I mean, I personally, like, is like the big airlines like the final stop, or like,
Yeah, well,
what,
then-
what would be the final stop? Let's put it that way.
so if I were to tell anybody that actually wants to pursue a career in aviation, the major airlines are the way to go, and I'll tell you why. Yes, like for what I make now is probably better than the, flying like corporate jets is better than probably the first and second year pay at being an airline.
Okay.
But I mean, after those 2 years, once you start building your seniority with an airline, the best part about it is that the more your seniority grows, the longer you're there, the better your schedule gets. Basically, the less you work and the more you get paid. So, when you start getting up like 45, 50, 55, 60 years old, you're only working, gosh,
Flying whatever you want.
literally,
right?
yeah, you're working
Whenever you want.
5, 6 days a month, and you're making over 250K.
And that's how it works sometimes.
That's how the airlines work. You put in your seniority, you put in your dues, and guess what? We'll get you the schedule that you want, and we'll pay you more for
So
it.
if I'm on a flight next time and I see a gray-haired fellow flying the plane, he's
He
probably
makes
just
a lot of money.
like, oh, right. All right.
That's why he's got a smile on his face. So, yeah. So that's why I say the major airlines are the best way to go. I think for your future and for your longevity, it is way better. Yeah, it's way better for your future and longevity. Rather than my career right now, where there is growth, but it's nowhere near the airlines, and I can't get the schedule like that the airlines can 5-10 years if I was at an airline.
But you're meeting celebrities and stuff, right?
I mean, yeah, it's cool. Like there's perks, there's ups and downs. I mean, the flying is totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all depends upon what you like. Some people love the corporate world; they
Have you
want to
ever
stay
gone-
here.
Have you ever gone upside down with those jets?
Not with the jet, no. Yeah,
that'd be so
I
cool.
want to, but it could handle it. So maybe someday. But also something that I want to add to. This is actually kind of importance, I guess, for somebody that does want to pursue a career in aviation, is the route that I went after I stopped flying King Airs and dropping bugs. Is that I could have gone two ways, literally two ways, one or the other, corporate world or regional airlines. That's pretty much how it always goes. After you start building up your multi-engine time, like after I did flying the King Air, dropping bugs, you can go two routes.
Bugs.
Yeah, you can go to the corporate world or you can go into the regional airlines. And the regional airlines, they're improving nowadays. I don't have to bag on them that much, but from what they were like 5 years ago.
What's regional versus corporate?
So like regional would be like SkyWest, ExpressJet. They fly under the colors.
the littler jets.
Yeah, they're like
littler
the
companies.
little jets that fly like the small CRJs.
What's a CRJ?
It's like they're only
talking
three.
to someone
they're,
who doesn't
they're
know.
only like 3 seats across, if you're just jumping from like San Jose to Vegas or something like that.
Okay, so just little airplanes.
The little hops, yeah, little hops.
Not
And
the
they
740s.
no.
whatevers or-
And they fly under the colors of the major airlines, meaning the major airlines pretty much owns. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I guess as a basic, I guess they own the regionals. Well, yeah, that's a bad way to word it. I'm trying to
think about it. I'll let you
Yeah,
finish this one.
anyway. So, I just didn't want to go to the regional route because I didn't want to have to do with the schedule. I didn't. They have pretty crappy schedules. The pay isn't that great. Now they're offering sign-on bonuses, which they didn't when I could have applied. But it's just I wanted to kind of bypass that route of the regionals, and so I went the corporate route. And luckily, I got into it. And so now my next step is to move on to the majors, the major airlines, Southwest, Delta, United Airlines, all that stuff. So
But if you wanted to, you could have a career in Jet Suite.
yeah, a lot of the guys do.
Right. So you're at a good spot.
I'm at a great spot. I'm not in any rush to move on. The only rush that I'm at is that what it has to do is the hiring process of the major airlines. All those old retiree guys who went to Vietnam and were all the pilots and
They're
stuff
on
like
their
that.
way out right now.
They're on their way out because they're forced retirement.
Yeah.
They're getting too old that they physically, like the FAA.
I got this.
Yeah, they're forced retirement.
Yeah.
And so they have to leave. And they're leaving by the hundreds. I mean, I'm talking per major airline, almost 1,000 pilots a year. For Delta, they're probably losing 1,000 pilots. They have to hire 1,000 pilots. And probably
So what you're saying, it's a good market.
it's a great market. It's a pilot's market, and it's the market to get into.
pilot's market. What does that
well,
mean?
meaning like a pilot's market means that I can kind of choose now where I want to go, rather than if there wasn't this great hiring process going on. It's not a pilot's market. It's somebody else's market. It's the airlines. It's the
Alright,
we don't get to choose necessarily our career. We get told what to do.
Yeah.
I get to choose where I want to go next. So I do love the corporate world. If I could find maybe something where I live in Salt Lake City that
Tends your
could
schedule better.
that attends to my schedule better, that's not week on, week off, something that has maybe more days off.
That's not a horrible schedule though.
No, it's not a horrible schedule.
I mean,
but
you like your off-roading and your
Yeah.
camping, and you can do that actually.
you can. But
Normal 9 to 5, it's hard for people to go out for just a weekend.
Yeah,
so
no, it's
kinda
true.
Cool.
it makes it really easy to plan trips, and but at the same time, you only have 2 weekends off a month. Think about it that way. You have 2 weekends per month. What are you going to do with those? So you better make them worthwhile.
Yeah.
So because every other weekend you're working. So that's the downside. It's great that you have the time off, but weekends what it comes down to because all of my friends, everybody that I know are weekend warriors.
Oh yeah.
The 9 to 5.
The average person is
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. So
What the work, right? What the work.
What the work, right?
Yeah, what the work.
So, all right. So, if you had, let's see here, any advice, let's just say for a high schooler, not sure he wants to do, maybe go into aviation, what would you recommend he do to help his career in being a pilot?
So, I do love what I do. The only thing that I would change, kind of like what I talked about earlier, is that I would tell him, I guess, I would tell him to get a degree that's not in aviation flight operations, maybe aviation management, maybe a degree in business, nursing, all the degrees
Really?
out there, just
Okay.
anything besides flying. And because that's all any career, any major airline, any corporate gig, they just require a degree.
All right.
Nowhere does it say that it has to be in flying.
Another question. Do you wish you would have learned it from, say, military, Air Force, Navy, or something? I know
So that's tough.
because,
If I was-
that's a lot of things is like,
Yeah.
they'll pay you to do it for the most
Yep.
part.
Um,
And I don't know if you're like in, not competition, but in like people that other pilots that went that route. And so they're
yeah.
fighter pilots or something like that. Like, is that something you wish you would have done, you recommend, or what's your opinion on that? Let's just put it that way.
So
Keep it
I don't have
open.
anything really bad to say about it. Obviously, you have to have that military mentality, as you know. You got to be motivated to do it, and you got to be able to put in some time.
You talking about being a pilot or being in the military?
Well, just going that military route so that they can
Yeah.
pay for everything.
Well, yes, but I mean, in your opinion, not having done that way, would you? Okay, let's put it this way: if you know what you know now, do you think you would have changed and like maybe like, oh, I should have just done the Air Force, gotten it done that way, and gone this way? Or
I
like-
actually still would have gone the civil route.
okay.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
I sorry to say, but like I still would have gone the civil route. So I wouldn't change that. The thing that kind of keeps me in limbo is the fact that the timing of which I grew up, now it's all UAVs, and so they're not really hiring pilots anymore. They're trying to find pilot lists. Well, the military. They're trying to find pilot lists.
You're saying so with new technology, it's going a lot more. Okay, well, Navy doesn't. I mean, still has aircraft carriers. I mean, granted, yes, there are UAVs and all that stuff, but I mean, being on one, there's still planes and pilots landing on and off and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, but if I sign on for the military, there's no guarantee that I'm going to get a pilot spot. That's the kicker. And if you sign on for the military,
True, you have to go through
you
tests.
got to go through test qualifications, and you still sign that contract. So there's no way of backing out. So if you didn't get the position that you wanted, hoped for, or dreamed for, then you might be walking away with some of your life gone by and not being able to actually get that aviation career that you wanted and starting back into the civil world saying, I need to start with my private pilot's license and need to go that route. It's just not a guarantee for the military. That's the only reason why I wouldn't choose that route.
It's hard. You gotta have like, I know it's like the vision wants to kick you out. Health,
Little things.
even
Yeah.
size of cockpit. If you're too big of a person, you can't fit in some of the cockpits, which limits which.
Apparently at 6'3", I'm too tall for most cockpits, and I actually wouldn't be able to fit in most jets.
There you go. That's
How would I have known?
crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I remember that being a thing. We had to be with the helicopters. They were all a lot more room in those.
Yeah,
things
yeah,
and
yeah. It
stuff,
depends
so-
on the airplane, obviously. But, yeah.
But
But yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, so currently, yeah, just flying for Jet Suite. Love it. And then if just kind of get back to what you're saying, if I could tell anybody, if I could tell a kid, I would say, get your degree in something else and fly on the side. Get all your license certificates instead of going through a collegiate program to get them. Do it on the side. Do it on your own time. Do it where you don't have to get an A or a B, in order to pass a flight program or something like that. Do it on your own time, because all that matters is the flight hours. So it's just
Flight
like,
hours.
just get
Just
your flight
hours.
hours.
Just hours, man.
It's just hours. Just get your flight hours on the side. Get your degree, not in aviation, and go on from there. So.
well, awesome, man. All right, so I
Yeah.
want to close out. And this is a little personal, but I have 3 categories of where you stand in case of salary wise.
Okay.
Do you make A, less than 50,000, B, between 50,000 and 100,000, or C, more than 100,000 at the moment?
At the moment, C.
C. All right.
Yes.
And you're what, 28?
28. Yeah.
That's not bad, man.
It's not bad. So.
And then that'll only increase as time goes on, right?
It will. So I was in category B about 3 months ago.
Oh, so very recent.
So just recently, yeah. It all has to do with the pilot shortage because the airlines are hiring so much that they need to retain pilots. So how do they retain people?
that's
They pay them more, right?
That's one reason to retain. Hey.
It's gonna make you stay.
hey, that's
So I was in category B and switched over to category C just a few months ago.
so 28 category C over 100,000. That's it's not bad, man.
Yeah,
Gotta
not
tell
too
you.
bad. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks.
That's not bad at all.
Living in Salt Lake, it's not very expensive either.
No, it's not like down here in Southern California
Yeah,
where
yeah.
a banana costs $10.
Yeah, beer costs 10. So,
Well, cool, man. Let's see here. Do you have anything else you'd recommend?
you know what? Yeah, I think I pretty much said.
Went over how you got there.
Yeah. Went up recommendations for most. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of recap, and I think that's pretty much it. To be honest with you. So
Well, cool, man. Hey,
Just
I want
keep
to say
flying.
thank you very much for being on here. This
Not
is
a problem.
the pilot episode, after all. Ooh, pilot episode. The beer's already kicking in.
Pilot sewed.
The pilot episode, we'll say. Pilot episode, first episode of What the Work. So thank you, man. I appreciate you, my brother.
Yeah, not a problem. I enjoyed it.
Brother from the same mother.
Yeah.
Coming on here.
I enjoyed it, Ryan. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, cool, man. I want to thank you for being on the show. And for everyone out there, I just want to let you know that if you have anyone else you recommend for the show coming on next, any kind of profession, my first one's a pilot. Who knows what the next one will be? I try and gonna attack everyone that's out there. So have a good one, everyone, and thanks for tuning in.